Dr. Doug Lucas here, retired orthopedic surgeon, now focusing my practice on longevity and bone health. Have you ever been told that you have osteoporosis, or have you ever wondered what is osteoporosis? Well, we're going to go through some of the basic definitions of osteoporosis, and we're going to talk about how they can apply to some people and not to others, so that you can have a better understanding of just what this thing is, and then hopefully you can figure out what to do about it. So stay tuned. Okay, so here's the deal. There are basically three ways that you can define osteoporosis. One is by the DEXA scan, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is and what that means. The second is with an actual explanation of what's happening from a physiologic perspective inside the body to cause osteoporosis. And the third is a symptoms-based definition, which I will tell you a little bit more about. Okay, so when it comes to a DEXA scan is the traditional way to screen for osteoporosis. We have another video that talks about the ins and outs of the different imaging modalities, but for now, let's just say DEXA is the gold standard, and this is how most people are going to find out that they have osteoporosis. The definition then for osteoporosis, particularly from the World Health Organization, is based off of the DEXA scan. So if you have a T-score, that's T as in Tom, a T-score of less than 2.5 in either your spine or your hips, which is what it measures. There's a lot of different numbers, but basically the answer is you're looking for femoral neck, total hip, and spine. If the T-score is less than 2.5 for those areas, then you by definition have osteoporosis. Like we talk about in the other imaging modalities video, the DEXA scan only tells you about bone density and it doesn't tell you about bone quality. So there's a lot more to discover there. But by definition, if you have a T-score less than negative 2.5, then you have osteoporosis and should certainly talk to somebody about what that means and how you should manage it. Okay, so the second way to define osteoporosis is by what's actually happening inside the body. So I like this definition because it helps to explain what's actually going on inside your bones. A lot of times we think of bones as being these just mineral repositories, just a big calcium store and these rigid parts of our skeleton. The reality is though that bones are a very dynamic, metabolically active organ, and there's a lot going on inside a bone. They are always updating, always remodeling. So if you imagine that the bone is always being broken down and it's always being built up, the bone itself, if you look at it from a microscopic perspective, it has little columns, it has little bridges, it's this really intricate architecture, almost like a honeycomb. When you have great bone quality and density, it looks very different than if you have osteoporosis. When you have osteoporosis, the architecture starts to get thinner, the spaces get bigger, and it starts to even look a lot more fragile. So you can really see the difference in this picture of natural healthy bone versus osteoporotic bone that has undergone way more breakdown than build up. You have to balance the breaking down of bone, which is totally natural, with the building up of bone. Osteoporosis then occurs by definition when bone loss exceeds bone growth. They get imbalanced for a long period of time, and then you will ultimately see bone loss, and you will end up with meeting other diagnostic criteria like a DEXA with a T-score of less than 2.5. So by definition, bone remodeling can define osteoporosis if you are imbalanced and your bone breakdown is exceeding your bone buildup. That becomes really important when we talk about how to manage osteoporosis and how to treat bone health. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but if you are enjoying this content and you find it helpful, please like and subscribe to this channel. We'll send you a notification when we post new content on the same topics. More importantly, if you know somebody that would benefit from this information, please share this video with them so that they can continue to learn and educate themselves on bone health. And most importantly, if you want to learn more about bone health, please join us for our free masterclass. There's a link in the description below this video. You can sign up for our free masterclass and you can learn how we manage bone health. You can learn what our program is all about, but you'll get a lot of tips about how to manage this yourself as well. It's part of our mission is to educate people about bone health, so please join us. Okay, so the third way to define osteoporosis is if you have had what's called a fragility fracture. So a fragility fracture is a fracture that occurs in certain body parts with a very specific mechanism. What I mean by that is The body parts that we consider to be relevant for fragility fractures include the spine, the hip, the pelvis. Some people will also include the upper arm, so here by the shoulder, or the distal radius by the wrist. As an orthopedic surgeon, I was trained to look for these fractures and then also look at the mechanism. The mechanism meaning, were you in a car accident at a high speed? That's not a fragility fracture necessarily, but if you turned around to pick something up off the counter and your hip broke, or if you sneezed and you broke a vertebrae in your spine, those are fragility fractures by definition. If you have a fragility fracture, you have osteoporosis. Unfortunately, in the traditional medical model, a lot of times the education and the testing stops there, and then they will just move on to treatment with pharmaceuticals typically. And the downside of that is we don't really then know what's happening with the bone, how imbalanced is your bone turnover, how severe is your osteoporosis, and what medications potentially should you be on. So if you have had a fragility fracture, it's still important that you get further testing, further imaging so that you know how severe your osteoporosis is, and then what you can potentially do about it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to this video. If you know anybody that would benefit from the information, please share this with them. More importantly, if you want to learn more about osteoporosis and you want to join our free masterclass on how to manage bone health, there is a link in the description below this video. You can sign up for the free masterclass where I'll go through how we manage osteoporosis, how we manage bone health, what our program looks like, but also give you a lot of tools on how you can potentially do a lot of these things on your own. Part of our mission is to educate people. We want to educate people about bone health and all the tools that are at their disposal, regardless of you're working with us or not. So we hope to see you in the masterclass. Thanks for watching the video.